I hate my stepdaughter, and I treat her well only to keep her father with me. There, I said it. It's the darkest, ugliest secret I carry every day. I, 36F, have never spoken these words out loud to anyone, not even to my closest friend or my therapist. Yes, I started seeing one. More on that later. On the outside, I'm the picture of a loving stepmom. I drive Emily, 15F, to school. I cheer at her soccer games. I buy her clothes and cook her dinner. I give her every ounce of kindness and patience I can muster. And I do it all with a smile so convincing that my husband Jake, 40M, swears I treat Emily like my own. But inside I am rotting with resentment. Let me be clear. I know how awful this is. I know I'm basically the evil stepmother from a fairy tale. If there's a hell for stepparents, I'm probably heading there. But I need to vent, because I feel like I'm one bad day away from exploding and revealing how I really feel. And if that happens, I lose everything. Emily is Jake's only child from his first marriage. Her mom and Jake divorced when Emily was 8. I came into the picture when she was 13. From day one, she was cold to me. I don't blame her for that. I was an intruder in her eyes, the new woman in her dad's life. I told myself to be patient, that we'd grow closer over time. I read all the step-parenting blogs, watched YouTube advice videos, even joined a step-parent support group on Facebook. The consensus: just love her like your own, eventually she'll come around. So I tried. I really tried. In the beginning, I went above and beyond to bond with Emily. I took over manicures, I learned to bake her favorite cookies, I listened to her talk about her friends and the shows she liked. I thought we were making progress. But the truth is, every attempt I made was met with indifference at best, open hostility at worst. I remember one day, about a year into my marriage with Jake, I surprised Emily with tickets for both of us to see her favorite band live. It was meant to be a girls' night, just us two. She looked at the tickets and frowned, then said, "Cool, I'll see if Dad wants to go. He likes Bandit too." I gently said, "Actually, honey, I got these for you and me, as a bonding thing." She rolled her eyes and muttered, "I don't need a new mom." That stung, but I swallowed the hurt and told her, "It's fine. She can invite a friend instead if she'd prefer." I ended up not going. I let her take a friend while I stayed home. Jake was so proud of how selfless I was to give up my ticket for her friend. He kissed me and said I was doing a great job with Emily. I smiled and soaked up his praise like a parched plant in rain, because that, his appreciation, his love, that's why I keep doing this. Every time I want to scream at Emily, every time she rejects me or throws one of her tantrums, I bite my tongue raw because I cannot lose Jake. I love him so much it hurts, and he's a wonderful father. If he ever knew how I truly felt, if he even suspected I didn't adore his daughter, I shudder to think. Early on, before we married, he told me, "My daughter is my world. I need you to love her too, or this won't work." And I told him I did, and I would, and I meant it at the time. I thought I could. But reality is different. Flash forward to now. 2 years of marriage, and I'm drowning in this facade I created. Emily still doesn't accept me. Honestly, I think she hates me too, just not in the quiet, smiling way I do. No, she hates me openly sometimes. She'll make snide remarks like, "Stop acting like you care." The thing is, she's perceptive. I have this nagging suspicion that she can tell on some level that my affection is forced. I try to hide it, but teenagers have a bullshit detector, you know? Our conflicts usually happen when Jake isn't around. Emily will talk back or say something hurtful, and I'll maintain my sweet stepmom voice. Example, a few weeks ago, she failed her math test. When her dad asked why, she shrugged and said, maybe if someone, glancing at me, actually helped her study instead of pretending to, she'd do better. I was stunned, because I did help her study. I spent hours quizzing her. Jake looked at me, confused and a bit disappointed. I quickly said, "Oh, we did go over the material together, but maybe I didn't explain it well." I basically took the blame, insinuating that I might not have been a great tutor. Jake just sighed and told Emily they'd find a school tutor. Emily smirked at me when Jake's back was turned. I went to my bedroom and cried after that one. Not where anyone could see, of course. I made sure to cry quietly into a pillow. Then I fixed my face and went back out to cook dinner for everyone like nothing happened. This is my life. Act like the perfect stepmom, get undermined or stonewalled by a 15-year-old, let her win, then privately fall apart. I resent how Emily has this hold on Jake's heart that I can never touch. I know how petty that sounds. I'm an adult, she's a child, and I'm jealous of her. But it's not the love he has for her, it's the influence. She snaps her fingers and he comes running. If we're watching a movie as a family and Emily decides she'd rather watch something else, Jake will casually say, "Let's watch what Em wants." If we plan a romantic dinner out, and last minute Emily complains of a stomachache or is just moody and doesn't want us to go, Jake will say, "Rain check, she needs us tonight." Needs us or needs him, because when we stay home, she just goes to her room and FaceTimes her friends anyway. I feel like I'm always second place in my own marriage. And I knew what I was signing up for. Jake is a father first, but feeling it day in and day out is different than knowing it in theory. One particularly bad night was 3 months ago, our wedding anniversary. We had plans to go to an upscale restaurant, had a babysitter lined up. Emily is 15, but we didn't want to leave her completely alone late at night. Plus, Jake felt guilty not including her in the celebration somehow, so he arranged for her favorite babysitter from when she was younger to hang out with her. Honestly, he probably just didn't want her to feel abandoned while we had fun. I spent the day getting ready, buying a new dress, doing my hair, etc. I was excited for one damn evening of being just a couple with my husband, not parents. When we were literally about to walk out the door, Emily appeared at the top of the stairs in tears. She said her boyfriend had broken up with her via text and she was devastated. She ran to Jake, sobbing. He, of course, immediately held her and looked at me with sorry eyes. I already knew. I told him softly, "It's okay, go comfort her. We can go another night." My heart sank, but I forced a sympathetic look. I went upstairs, changed out of my dress, and spent our anniversary night eating Chinese takeout on the couch alone, while he consoled his daughter in her room. He fell asleep next to her. I cleaned up the food and cried washing dishes. The next day, Emily was all smiles as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, Jake apologized to me and promised we'd celebrate the next weekend, but I could tell his mind was still on her. We did eventually go out to dinner, but it felt more obligatory. The moment was lost, and part of me wondered, did she intentionally time that breakdown? Was it a coincidence, or did she want to ruin our night? I felt horrible for even thinking that. What kind of monster assumes a child would fake heartbreak just to cock-block her dad and stepmom? Yet the thought lingers. Because Emily has made offhand comments before that make me wonder if she is that calculating. Once, during one of our arguments, she hissed at me, "You'll never win. Dad will always choose me." That was last year, after she overheard me gently trying to suggest to Jake that maybe she should go to a summer boarding school program. There was a prestigious art program, and she is a talented artist. I pitched it like an opportunity for her growth, but honestly, I wanted a break from her for a few weeks. She blew up, said I was trying to ship her off. Later, when Jake wasn't around, she said that line, "He'll always choose me." It felt like a threat, and you know what? She's not wrong. He would always choose her, and I don't even think that's inherently bad. She's his kid, after all. But what kills me is that she wields that knowledge like a weapon. She has never called me mom or even my first name. She just addresses me with no name like, "Can you pass the salt?" Or she gets her dad to get my attention indirectly. Such a small thing. But it hurts. I know I sound like I'm painting Emily as some villain. She's not some demon spawn. She's a hurt, emotionally unstable teenager whose family got upended. I get why she acts out, honestly. Sometimes I do feel sorry for her. Her mom and dad had a bitter divorce, and I suspect her mom speaks poorly of me. I've never even met the ex. Jake avoids talking to her except when absolutely necessary. Emily had therapy after the divorce. Maybe she needed more. She's a kid trying to find control in a life where decisions were made without her. Intellectually, I understand that. But my heart just feels attacked day after day. It's this cycle. She lashes out. I feel hurt and angry, but I smile and stay kind. Jake remains blissfully unaware, or aware but grateful I'm patient. Then I privately seethe. I've become a damn good actress. Should win an Oscar for how convincingly I laugh at Emily's snarky jokes that have barbs aimed at me. For how I gush over the handmade birthday card she drew for me last month, when I know she only did it because Jake hovered until she did something. She literally scribbled, "Happy birthday" on a folded paper, no design or anything, and handed it to me with a mumbled, "Here." But I acted like she gave me a gold-plated Hallmark special. I even put it up on the fridge. God, writing this out I see how pathetic I sound. Why am I debasing myself like this? Why can't I just stop? Because I'm terrified of losing my marriage. I love Jake with every fiber of my being. Aside from the issues with his daughter, he is a wonderful partner to me. Attentive, funny, supportive. We rarely fight about anything except, on occasion, parenting differences. And even those fights are quiet, because I'm so afraid to push too hard and have him think I don't love his daughter. The few times I've even mildly criticized something about Emily's behavior, Jake's face will darken, and he'll defend her, or make an excuse. Like, she's been through a lot, try to understand. So I drop it. I know if I ever said it's me or her, he'd choose her, without hesitation. And honestly, I'd hate myself for even making him choose. That's why I play nice. I figure if I can at least maintain this harmony until Emily goes to college, 3 more years, if I survive that long, then maybe Jake and I can finally have some peace. Maybe once she's out of the house, I can actually enjoy my marriage without this daily stress. Is that horrible? Counting down the days until the kid leaves home? Probably, but it's my reality. Lately, though, I'm not sure I'm going to make it 3 more years. The tension is building. I feel like there's this thing inside me, something bitter and ugly, growing every day I have to pretend. Some days, I'll be driving and an intrusive thought pops in like, what if I just kicked her out of the car? I would never actually harm her, ever. But those nasty thoughts scare me, the fact that my mind even goes there in anger or frustration. It's why I quietly started seeing a therapist on my lunch breaks. I told Jake it was work training. I haven't been fully honest with the therapist either. I'm too ashamed to admit I hate my stepdaughter. I dance around it, saying I'm stressed trying to blend a family, that I feel unappreciated. She gives me advice on communication and boundary setting, but none of it feels applicable because I can't actually communicate honestly with either of them. One of the worst incidents came last week, and it's what finally prompted me to write this. It was relatively small on the surface, but it shook me. We were having a family dinner, and Emily was complaining about her upcoming science fair project. She was whining that she didn't have a good idea, and it was too hard. Jake, trying to be encouraging, said, hey, maybe my name can help you brainstorm. She's really good at science stuff. I'm an engineer. Emily immediately made a face and said, no offense, but I want Dad's help instead. He actually knows me. Jake kind of laughed and said, what? She knows you too. Emily says, not really, not like you do. She doesn't get me. Then she added under her breath, she doesn't even like me. I froze. Did I just hear that? Jake went serious. That's not true, Em. My name loves you. Emily shrugged and just pushed her food around. She muttered, if you say so. My heart was pounding. I was sure my face went pale. Was she about to call me out right then and there? Jake looked at me, concerned. I did the usual, plastered on a hurt expression, and said softly, I do love you, Emily. I'm sorry if it ever feels like I don't. I'd really like to help with your project if you'll let me. She didn't respond, just stabbed a piece of broccoli and stuffed it in her mouth without looking at me. Jake sighed and changed the subject. I could barely eat the rest of dinner. That little remark haunted me. She doesn't even like me. Is my mask slipping? Have I been fooling myself that I'm fooling them? Maybe Emily has sensed my true feelings for a while and is testing the waters. Or maybe I'm overthinking a sullen teen's grumbling. Since that dinner, Emily has been even quieter around me, which is saying something. Almost pointedly quiet. She'll talk to her dad and ignore me entirely, as if I'm not there. Or she'll respond with one-word answers when I speak to her. In front of Jake, this looks like typical teenager moodiness, I guess. But I feel there's something else behind it now, like contempt. I fear she might be on to me, that she might try to prove I'm fake. If she goes to her dad and actually says she hates me, what would I do? I'd deny, of course, but it would plant a seed of doubt in him. What if she already said something along those lines after that dinner? Jake has been a little, off with me? Or is that my paranoia? He did ask me yesterday, is everything okay between you and Em? I noticed she's been kind of distant. I just said, oh, you know teen girls. Hard to tell what's going on in their heads. I'm giving her space, but I'll try to talk to her. He nodded, seemed satisfied. I did try to talk to her. Last night, I knocked on her bedroom door. Jake was out picking up groceries. I volunteered so I could have a reason to stay back and talk to her, but he insisted he'd go and let me relax. She opened it, saw it was me, and her face immediately looked annoyed. I asked if we could chat for a minute. She said, what? In a tone only a teenage girl can muster, a mix of boredom and irritation. I gently said I noticed she seemed upset with me, and I wanted to know if I did something wrong, that if there's any misunderstanding, we should clear it up. She stared at me for a second, and I swear it was like she was calculating something. Then she said, I don't know, did you do something? It felt like a trap. I just said, if I have, I want to fix it. She responded, you're the adult, you figure it out, and closed the door on me. That was it. Not a shouting match. Not an outright accusation. Just dismissal. In a way, it was worse than yelling. It was like I was nothing to her, an annoying mosquito she could just shut out. I stood there in the hallway shaking. I wanted to scream and yank the door back open and just unload everything. Tell her how hard I've tried, how ungrateful, how fucking ungrateful she's acting, how miserable she makes me feel in my own home, how I have given up so much peace and energy just to keep this family together, and she doesn't even care. I wanted to tell her I wish she'd go live with her mother full-time and leave me and her father in peace. But I didn't. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and walked away. And now here I am, typing this long, pathetic confession in an online forum because I literally have no one I trust to say this to. I can't tell Jake, obviously. I can't tell my friends. They'd be horrified. And some of them are mutual friends with Jake or other school moms. My one close friend who knows a bit, I told her a year ago that Emily and I weren't getting along well, just says, hang in there, it'll get better. Ha! Will it? I doubt it. I feel like it's getting worse. The older Emily gets, the more she sees through me and the angrier I get inside. We're like a powder keg under the same roof. One side, hers, openly sparking. The other side, mine, a tight coil of resentment that could spring out any second. I hate my stepdaughter. I hate that I hate her, if that makes sense. I wasn't always this person. I remember seeing pictures of Jake and Emily when I first dated him, and I couldn't wait to meet her. I fantasized about us maybe becoming close, me being a cool stepmom she could confide in. That fantasy is long dead. In its place is this daily nightmare of tension and fake smiles. I know some will say you knew what you signed up for, and you're right. Some will say I'm jealous of a child. True. Some will say I'm abusive for faking affection. Maybe so. Trust me, I've thought all the same things about myself. There are days I think the only moral thing to do is to leave. Let Jake find someone who genuinely loves his daughter. But then the selfish part of me screams, no. Why should I lose my husband, my love, because of this girl who hates me no matter what I do? I feel trapped. My strategy so far has been to keep up the act until Emily is 18 and goes to college, or at least moves in with her mom. She currently goes to her mom's only every other weekend. But 3 years feels like an eternity right now. I'm posting this here because I have to let it out somewhere, or I'll go crazy. I haven't done anything truly horrible to Emily. I have never even raised my voice at her, never so much as grounded her. Jake handles discipline, and surprise, she faces few real consequences. I treat her well, like I promised I would. In fact, I treat her better than she treats me, by a long shot. But it's all a show, and it's getting harder and harder to put on that show every morning. The guilt is eating me alive too, because every so often, I see a glimpse of her vulnerable side, like when she was crying over that boyfriend, or when she came home last month and I overheard her sniffling in her room. She had a bad day at school, though she wouldn't tell me what happened. In those moments, if I approach, she pushes me away. But I feel a tug of genuine sympathy. I want to hug her, but I don't. Because she doesn't want me to, and honestly because I'm afraid if I try to comfort her genuinely, I'll expose that maybe I don't actually love her like a mother would. Or I'll feel like a hypocrite because hours before I was fantasizing about her moving out, so I just keep my distance. And then the walls between us get thicker. I worry one day I'll accidentally let something slip, that I'll say some little snide remark back and she'll pounce on it and tell Jake. Or worse, that I'll explode in anger and really hurt her emotionally, with words I would never touch her, I promise. I'm so full of pent-up frustration that I fear an outburst. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to hurt anyone. I also don't want to lose my husband. If you've made it this far, thank you for reading my messed up thoughts. I know I'm probably a horrible human being in your eyes. Maybe I deserve that title. I'm not even sure what I'm asking for here. Forgiveness? Advice on how to keep sane? Validation that I'm not alone? I'm scared of the responses, to be honest. But I have to post this. I treat her well to keep her father with me, yes. That's the truth. If I didn't have that motive, I'd likely be much colder, or just walk away. Some might say that makes me manipulative. Maybe it does. But it's like a stalemate where none of us win. Not me, not Emily, not Jake. I guess deep down I wish someone would tell me there's hope, or tell me I'm not a monster for feeling this, even if it is monstrous. I don't know. Anyway, that's my awful secret. I hate my stepdaughter, and I'm terrified the facade is cracking. If she or my husband ever find out, my life will implode. Please be gentle, or not. If you think I deserve a verbal smack, I just needed to get this out. Posting on a throwaway account for obvious reasons. I can't risk anyone linking this to me. Update 1. Update 1. First, I want to say thank you for the outpouring of responses on my original post. I was honestly prepared to be shredded to pieces, and while some of you did, deservedly, call me out, many also offered sympathy or advice. I read every single comment, often through tears. It's weird. Strangers on the internet knew my darkest secret, and instead of outright condemning me to hell, a lot of you tried to help. That meant more than I can express. A common suggestion was that I needed to communicate somehow before things exploded. Some advised me to be honest with Jake about my struggles. Not the full extent of my hate, but at least that I was reaching a breaking point. Others said to get family therapy, or that I should disengage a bit and let Jake handle Emily fully to save my sanity. A few people, of course, told me I should leave for everyone's sake. I wasn't ready to consider that. After much anxiety, I decided to try a gentle version of the advice. I talked to my therapist and finally admitted a bit more. I didn't say, I hate her, but I did confess I have very negative feelings toward Emily that I can't seem to resolve. She agreed family therapy might help and encouraged me to have a heart-to-heart with Jake about how the family dynamic was affecting me. I was petrified, but I resolved to at least tell him I was struggling emotionally and could use his support. So about 2 weeks after my post, one night after Emily had gone to bed, I told Jake I needed to talk. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I remember my voice was shaking. I basically said something like, "Honey, I've been feeling really stressed, and I think maybe I'm not handling the situation with Emily as well as I try to be. I feel like I'm failing at being her stepmom, and it's really taking a toll on me." He looked so concerned. He actually took my hand and said, "I know it's been hard. You've been so amazing with her, better than I could have hoped. What can I do? Do you need a break? Do you want to maybe see your sister for a weekend to relax? I nearly cried right then because his kindness and obliviousness just made me feel worse. I mustered the courage to continue. I think we, all three of us, might benefit from family therapy. There's a lot of tension under the surface. I worry that Emily and I still haven't really bonded, and maybe having a professional help would make things better. Jake squeezed my hand a little, and to my relief, he nodded. If you think it'll help, let's do it. I know Em can be difficult. I want you two to be okay. I want our family to be okay. That opened the floodgates for me. I started sobbing, quietly. He hugged me and apologized if he'd been too hands-off and left me to deal with the brunt of teenage drama. I, in turn, apologized for not speaking up sooner about how I felt. Oh, the irony. He has no idea the full scope of how I felt. We decided we'd approach Emily together about doing family therapy, framing it as a way to communicate better. Not that she was the problem. Still, I was nervous she'd take it badly. And she did. When we brought it up to her a couple days later, she immediately got defensive. I don't need a therapist, she snapped. If you two have issues, go to therapy yourselves. Jake gently insisted it was about all of us improving understanding. Emily glared at me and said, I understand everything just fine. I don't want to sit in a room while some stranger tries to tell me how I feel. We didn't force her at that moment, but Jake and I agreed we'd try again in a week or so. In the meantime, per advice from both my therapist and some of you, I attempted to step back a little. I stopped trying so hard to please her. Not in a mean way, I just gave myself permission to not be super stepmom 24/7. If she ignored me, I ignored her and let Jake handle things. I cooked dinner every other night instead of every night. Jake alternated, or we got takeout. I went out with a friend one Saturday and left Jake and Emily to themselves, claiming I needed some me time. This slight detachment actually helped my stress levels a bit, but I think Emily noticed and maybe interpreted it differently, because halfway through that experiment she started acting out more. For example, when I wouldn't engage with one of her passive-aggressive comments, she'd escalate it. One morning I didn't wake her up for school. Jake did because I figured she's 15 and can manage an alarm or her dad can handle it. She ended up running late. She came to me upset, saying, "Thanks for nothing. I almost missed the bus because you couldn't even bother to check if I was up." I calmly replied that I was under the impression she and her dad had it under control. She just scoffed. "You're so fake." I asked, "Excuse me?" That did sting, I'll admit. She goes, "This whole nice act. Dropping it now? Finally, whatever." Then she walked out to the bus. I was left speechless and angry. It felt like she actually preferred me catering to her, even if she believed it was fake. And now that I eased off, she was almost provoking me to react. I wanted to scream after her, but I didn't. Still, that incident frustrated me enough that I did call my friend Tara that afternoon when I was home alone. Tara knew about my post. I had sent her the text of it after posting, since I trust her deeply and needed her input. She's pretty much the only person IRL who knows how bad things really were with me. I vented to Tara about how the therapy talk went, how I'm trying to step back, and how Emily was still pushing my buttons. I was pacing my kitchen, on the verge of tears and rage. I remember ranting, "I swear she wants me to snap. It's like she won't be happy until she proves I'm the evil stepmom she thinks I am." Tara was trying to calm me down, reminding me that teen girls test boundaries, that Emily likely feels insecure and is lashing out to see if I'll stop loving her, kind of a twisted test. I said, well, if it's a test, I'm failing, because I don't love her, Tara. I can't fucking stand her. God, I know I'm awful, but I hate that girl. I really do. I turned around and nearly jumped out of my skin. Emily was standing in the kitchen doorway. I have no idea how long she had been there. I was so absorbed in my phone call I didn't hear her come in. She was supposed to be at a friend's house until dinner time, but there she was, eyes wide and red, like she'd been crying or was about to. I froze, phone still pressed to my ear. Tara was still talking, hey, take a deep breath, and realized I had gone silent. I croaked out, "I'll call you back," and hung up. Emily and I just stared at each other for a second that felt like an hour. My heart absolutely dropped into my stomach. Her face, it was a mix of vindication, like I knew it, and deep hurt. She just whispered, I knew it, with this bitter little laugh, her voice breaking. I stepped forward, shaking, hands outstretched, a bit like I'd approach a scared animal. "Emily, let me explain." She cut me off, voice rising to a scream I'd never heard from her. "You hate me. You just said it. You hate me." She wasn't even angry as much as devastated. Her knees sort of buckled and she sat on the floor, suddenly sobbing. I was in pure panic. I tried to say something. Anything. I think I babbled. I didn't mean it. I was just upset, which sounds pathetic even to me. She just kept crying, saying between sobs, "I knew it. I knew you were fake. I knew you never wanted me." It only took maybe 30 seconds of this before Jake came rushing in. He had been upstairs. I later learned he was taking a quick nap after work. He must have heard the screaming/crying. He looked at the scene. Emily on the floor crying hysterically, me standing there probably white as a sheet, and he immediately went to her. "Em, what happened?" She practically threw herself at him, clinging to him and wailing, "She hates me, Dad! She just said she hates me!" Jake's face over her shoulder. I'll never forget the look he gave me. Utter confusion and something else. Like heartbreak and anger all at once, though he was clearly trying to stay calm for his daughter. He softly rubbed her back, shushing her, saying, it's okay, calm down, we'll figure this out." Then he looked at me with this deadly, serious expression and quietly said, "What is going on, my name?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out at first. Emily cried. "I heard her on the phone. She was talking about me. She said, 'I hate that girl, I hate her.'" Then she broke into fresh sobs. Jake's eyes were blazing now. "Please tell me she's lying. Please." His voice was uneven, like he already knew she wasn't. I was shaking all over. I think I stammered something like, I was ranting. I was frustrated. I didn't mean it how it sounded. He closed his eyes for a second, holding his weeping daughter, and there was this painful silence. Then he just said, very quietly, "I think you should leave the room. I'll come talk to you after I comfort her." It was almost robotic. I'd never heard him speak to me so coldly. Not yelling, just cold. I hesitated, not wanting to leave them like that, but he raised his voice just slightly. "Go. Now." I obeyed. I fled to our bedroom and shut the door, heart hammering. I wanted to throw up. Outside, I could hear Emily still crying, and faintly I could make out him soothing her, and then their voices went lower. Probably he guided her to the living room or her room away from me. I was in shock. This is exactly the nightmare scenario I hoped to avoid. My secret, out in the worst possible way. After about 15 minutes, which felt like an eternity, Jake came into the bedroom. He closed the door behind him. He looked like he'd been crying too. His eyes were red. Mine were dry by then. I think I was too in shock to even cry yet. What followed was the hardest conversation of my life. To be continued in next update. Update 2. Update 2. Final. I'm writing this from a guest room at my friend Tara's house. The last 48 hours have been a blur of tears and shock. I can barely process that I'm typing these words. My marriage is effectively over. After I left off in my last update, Jake and I finally had it out. He came into the bedroom, shutting the door behind him, and for a moment he just stood there, looking at me like I was a stranger. I was still on the bed, shaking. I started babbling immediately. "Jake, I am so sorry. Please, let me explain." He held up his hand. He was eerily calm, but I could see the rage simmering under it. "Explain? Please do." His voice was ice. "Because from where I'm standing, it sure sounds like my wife has been lying to me for years and secretly hating my daughter." I burst into tears and told him I never meant for any of this. That yes, I said those horrible words, but I was just under immense stress. I said, "I tried so hard, Jake. I never wanted to hurt either of you. I was overwhelmed and I snapped." He didn't raise his voice. He just spoke low and hurt. "How long, my name? How long have you felt this? Hate?" I tried to reach for him, but he stepped back. That hurt like a slap. I admitted, in barely a whisper, "I don't know. It started as just frustration, and it grew. I was hoping it would get better, I swear. I kept it to myself because I didn't want to upset you." He laughed, a bitter, cracked laugh. "Well, congratulations, you sure kept it to yourself. I had no idea the woman I love could look me in the eyes every day, tell me she loved my daughter, and be lying. Do you have any idea what you've done to Emily?" I broke down, saying I was awful. I know I was wrong, but I truly did care about Emily's well-being, even if I struggled to love her. I insisted I never mistreated her, that I tried to be good. He cut me off sharply. "You think it doesn't matter because you acted nice? You think it's not mistreatment that you lied to that child every single day? She let you into her life as a parental figure, and you, what, secretly hated her all along?" His voice finally rose, cracking with emotion. "She might not have even liked you, but she trusted that at least you didn't hate her. Do you understand how ed up it is that you fooled us both?" I was sobbing, repeating, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." He then asked quietly, "Did you ever love her at all?" That question hung in the air like a dagger. I gulped and answered honestly, tears pouring down my face. I tried to. I wanted to. But no, not the way a mother should. I'm so sorry, Jake." Jake closed his eyes, and tears were running down his face now too. He nodded to himself, like some resolve hardened. "Thank you for finally telling the truth," he said, voice raw. "That's all I needed to know." I begged him not to make any rash decisions right now, to maybe consider counseling together, that I would do anything, absolutely anything, to fix this. I got off the bed and literally fell to my knees, sobbing into his hands as I grasped them. It was pathetic, but I didn't care. I was ready to grovel for my marriage. He pulled his hands away and looked down at me with so much sadness. "I don't think this can be fixed," he said, each word like a knife. "I can't even look at you right now, my name. All I see is the person who broke my little girl's heart." I started to speak, but he shook his head. "I need you to leave. Tonight." Those words hit me like a bucket of ice water. Leave. Tonight. I asked him where I was supposed to go. He said, "I don't care. Go to a friend's, a hotel. Just not here. I need to be with Emily, and she can't stand to be under the same roof as you right now. Neither can I." He said it without anger, which somehow made it more devastating. It was final. I packed a suitcase in a daze, tears just streaming nonstop. While I was packing, Jake went back to check on Emily. I could hear her crying and him murmuring softly. At one point I heard her shout, "I hate her," meaning me, and then more sobbing. Each wail felt like a stab in my chest. I have never felt so monstrous and so hated. I wanted to go to her door and say something, anything. To apologize, to beg forgiveness, but I knew it was neither wanted nor appropriate at that point. When I was done packing, Jake met me at the front door. I looked for any softness in his eyes, any sign that this was just temporary, that he might eventually forgive me. I couldn't find it. He looked hollowed out. I choked out, I understand. I'll go. But please, can I call you tomorrow? Can we talk more when everyone's calmer?" He just said, "I'll be in touch." About logistics. His voice was flat, formal. He wouldn't even say goodbye or give me a token. "We'll talk later." In a last desperate attempt, I said through sobs, "I do love you, Jake. Both of you. I know I failed horribly at showing it, but I do." He flinched like I'd slapped him. "Don't. Just don't. The person I fell in love with wouldn't have done this." Then he opened the door and motioned for me to go. I will never forget the image of him closing the door behind me, without another word or look. That sound of the door latch clicking might as well have been the sound of my heart shattering. So here I am. I drove to Tara's house bawling my eyes out and nearly got in an accident because I could barely see. Tara has been a godsend, letting me stay here indefinitely and consoling me, even though she's also honest that I brought this on myself. I haven't spoken to Jake since I left, except for a short text from him this morning. "I'll pack up some of your things and leave them with Tara. We need some space. Please respect that. I'll reach out when ready to discuss next steps." Next steps. Not exactly a hopeful phrase. I don't know what will happen long term. Maybe once the dust settles, we can have a calmer conversation. But deep down, I think it's over. Even if by some miracle he wanted me to stay, how could I ever face Emily again? That girl now utterly despises me, and for good reason. I became exactly the evil stepmother she always suspected I was.